it's me, Charlena, and I know you all have been waiting for this, but I'm going to do a draw my life video, and it's going to be a little bit different than everybody else's. My life, it's going to be a story of my life. 1991, May 7th, I was born into this world at 10:32 p.m. I was a 6-pounder. And after that, I was born, of course, and I had a pretty good childhood life until I was about 5 or 6 years old. My parents did argue and fight a lot, and it was rough. I do have 2 older brothers by 2 different dads. I am my dad's only child, and my second oldest brother lived with me for my whole childhood. I didn't meet my oldest brother until I was about 9 or 8 years old. So it was me, my brother that's 6 years older than me, my mom and dad that all lived in a house. And we lived in a house until I was about 5 years old. And my parents decided to go their separate ways. And I was a daddy's girl, of course, and I was very upset and sad that my mom had gotten off the bus one morning and my mom had everything packed and said, well, we're going somewhere else. And like I said, I was like 5 or 6 at this time, and I got in the car and we drove off, and my brother was talking about how this is a great guy and all this good stuff, and I was confused. I was like, are we going back home to Dad? And my mom's like, no, this is going to be our new place. So we stayed. I went to a different school. We moved out from where I lived. Was born and raised in Indiana, and we moved like 40 miles away from my dad. He had no idea. He came home to nothing. But we lived there for, I'd say, a couple months, and I went to a new school. Did not like the school, did not like the guy my mom was with at the time. She had met him through jail and decided to go with him when my parents had split for the first time. And I didn't like him at all. He treated me different. I just didn't like him. I wanted my dad. So one day I begged and begged my mom to go back to my dad, and she did. One day she was in the shower, and the guy she was with was at work. My dad called, and I begged my mom to go back. So my mom said, grab up all your stuff, we're leaving, we're going back. So we went back to my dad's, and it was still rocky. I mean, we moved so many different times, and as I got older, in sixth grade, I was determined to go to 6th grade the whole year and not miss one day of school. Well, I had gotten sick and was hospitalized. They thought it was meningitis, but it ended up being a pneumococin. I don't know how to say that word, pneumonia. And they brought in all the family, because I was in 6th grade, so I don't even know how old I was then. But they brought in all the family because I was dying. And I just remember them bringing in all my family that, I never really seen. They came and see me, and then when they told my mom the news, she freaked out. And we had a preacher come in and say a prayer, and they were going to stat fly me to Children's Hospital, but I would not make the helicopter flight, so they flew in a doctor from there. And sure enough, when he came, and the funny thing was, it was potassium. My potassium was very, very low, so I ended up making it, pulled through all that. And I never really stayed at home. I had a best friend, her name was Wendy, and I pretty much I never stayed at home because my parents, all they did was fight and argue all the time. And it really, messed me up in the head. I went through a lot of stuff, And then 16 years old, I left my house for good. I had quit school in 10th grade, left the house for good, and that's when I moved in with my ex. I was 16 and he was 22, and I moved in with him to get away from everything. I didn't like school because I got made fun of. I wasn't the smartest kid. I was in special ed. So I wanted away from everything. So I moved 40 miles with him, and it wasn't, I can say that it was not a good relationship. It wasn't a love relationship like I have experienced now in my life. But I did get pregnant. We did lose the baby, and we were together for 3 years, and our last year was kind of rough. I got a job. He said if I got a job, then we could get a place. He was actually living with his mom at the time. Well, I was going through a rough time in my life. I had surgeries, and I went down a bad path. I went down a drug path, and it was a bad path. And what was I gonna say? Anyways, so that last year that me and that guy was together, I spent the whole year with my dad since my parents were divorced. Oh yeah, they did. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. They divorced. They were married for 20 years. When I turned 18 years old, they finally divorced, and my mom just threw my dad out with nothing. I mean, I felt so sad because my dad was my best friend. I was his only child. He did adopt my brother, but I was his pride and joy. So I was kind of thankful because when I was with my ex, I wasn't allowed to stay because we had moved out of our apartment and he moved in with his mom. Well, his mom didn't like me, so I was thankful in a way because I spent that whole year with my dad. I bonded with my dad more, and it was nice. And like I said, I went down a rough road, a drug road. So I had to make the decision. My mom said she was leaving to go to Florida, and if I wanted to come, I could. And I was like, this is my opportunity to get better and better myself, and because I wasn't getting better where I lived at. So we went to Florida. That's where we moved to, Panama City, Florida, with my dad's cousin. Yeah, that is kind of weird, but it's my dad's cousin. And it was kind of upsetting because my dad, he was filing for disability, and his big dream was to get a Harley and go down to Florida to where we moved to and live up there. Well, my mom took his dream and made it her dream, but I know she's going to see this video, and Mom, I'm not saying nothing bad about you, but anyways, we went to Florida, and I remember driving right before we crossed the bridge, and I looked at my mom, and I said, Mom, if anything happens to my dad, I'm blaming it on you, because my dad did not want me to leave at all. And the night before we left, I went and visited him, and he goes, is your mom out in the car? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, do you care if I go out there and talk to her? And I said, no. And he went out to go talk to my mom, and he said, whatever you do, please watch over her, make sure nothing happens, because my mom was with a boyfriend at the time, and he was coming with us, and my dad didn't care for him too much, but he did hug and kiss my mom, and he said, please take care of my daughter. And he came over to my side and gave me a hug and kiss, and then we went on our way the next morning. And it was so hard to leave my dad because he was my everything. He was always there for me. He didn't judge me for who I was. And I just told my mom, if anything happens to my dad, you know, I'm blaming it on you, because because my dad was really depressed when my parents had split. My dad still loved my mom and everything. So we get to Florida down there with his family because he was close to his cousin, and that's who we moved in with. Well, we get down there, and I was going through some really bad withdrawals, and I had my mom take me to the doctor because, I mean, my withdrawals were so horrible. And she took me to the doctor, and we were down there for like 4 days, and I talked to my dad every day. and my dad had called me, and he was in one of his sad moods, drinking moods, crying, and, you know, just, I mean, he was an electrician all of his life. He did have back surgery, and, I mean, I didn't grow up in a nice home and all that. It was, I lived in a trailer park all my life, but my dad was an electrician, and my mom, she did factory work, but, we were in Florida, and, I was actually working, cleaning in an apartment, and my dad called sobbing and wishing I was there and stuff, and I was like, Dad, you know, I can't take this. I'm stressed. I'm going through withdrawals and doing what I'm doing, you know, and he's just like, oh, I just want you here, and da-da-da-da, and, I don't remember how it got into the point of him saying, well, it was like, I just don't want to be here, and da-da-da-da, and I was like, Dad, don't do that. I was like, you know, I'm prescribed my Ativan, and how would you like it if I went in there and took the whole bottle and killed over? And he's like, no, don't do that, and I was like, Dad, I'm not. And then, you know, I was like, I gotta go. I hung up. My dad called again. My mom's boyfriend says, you need to tell him to leave you the F alone, stop calling you, and da-da-da-da. So, me, stupid me, I tell that to my dad, broke my dad's heart, and the next day, me and my mom went to the doctor, and, Dolph and his friend, sorry, went to the doctor, and my dad called, and he just wanted to talk to me and wanted to apologize, and I said, Dad, I can't talk right now, I'm hurting, I'm in pain, I can't do it. But I had quit in the beginning, like I said, you know, I didn't tell you all of it, but I did quit school, like I said, and I was 16, I got with a man, but anyways, so, I told my dad, I said, you know, I'll call you tonight when I get done with all this. Well, I felt bad because I didn't call him that night, because I didn't remember, you know, my mind was set on trying to get drugs, and, it was probably about 2:30 in the morning. My back was killing me, and next minute it's probably about 5:30. My mom slept. I asked my mom if she'd sleep with me that night, and in the morning I heard my dad's cousin throw the phone. She started cussing, and then my mom's boyfriend was like, Miranda, or told my mom, you know, you need to get up now, and go. Lisa wants you to go in the back, you know, room. And I was like, so I followed, and her kids was getting ready for school, and her daughter didn't look so happy. I was like, I wonder what's going on. And she's like, I don't know. So I sat in my little recliner, and I was waiting for my mom to get done talking, and my mom came out just bawling her eyes out, and I was like, Mom, what's wrong? And she just was bawling them out, and I said, Grandma, did something happen to my grandma? And she said, no, it's your dad, and he passed away. And I was like, are you kidding me? Because I didn't call my dad that night to, you know, to even apologize. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, he's gone? And Mom's like, yeah, he's gone forever, Charlena. And it broke my heart. I picked up my cell phone. I dialed his number. And it just rang and rang and rang, and I was like, Dad, please answer the phone. And I knew he wasn't there, but it was just, you know. But anyways, like I was saying, so I did get the news that my dad had passed on, and me being the only child, I had to be the one to do the funeral arrangements. I had to, you know, do all that. So they were gonna fly me out that night to go to Indiana, because that's where my dad was at, and they had already had them, you know, him at the hospital. Like, he passed away in the morning, his house. So it was just, my dad was my everything, you know. He was my best friend, because I didn't have a relationship with my mom until my dad passed away, and then I started to have a relationship with my mom. But like I said, growing up, I lived from place to place to place with friends, because my parents argued all the time. When they divorced, my mom, we still wasn't that close, because I was with an ex at the time, living with him, and I did get to spend that whole year with my dad, because I wasn't allowed to stay at my ex's you know, mom's house. So I was very thankful. My dad didn't like him either, and it's sad because my dad can't see the life I'm living now. I believe he watches over me, and I mean, I am with the most amazing guy that I could ever ask for, and I wish my dad could see him and see, you know, because we have a little one. I'm not the biological mother, but she considers me, you know, the mom, because I was there when she was born. I was there for her birthdays and everything. But my dad never got to meet the guy I'm with now, and he's so much like my dad. They share the same zodiac sign. So I see my dad come out a lot in him, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be the person I am today. Because like I said, I went down a long, hard, tough road. And I did go to rehab. Oh, there's like a bug on there. I did go to rehab. I did get better. And if it wasn't for him, you know, I don't know. That's why I try to do a YouTube too, because I've got disabilities that people don't know about, and I'm trying to overcome them disabilities and stuff. So I guess that's it for now, guys. I thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment, subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed somewhat of my life story. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll be more than glad to answer them. And like I said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you all later. Bye, guys.